Well, as we end the growing season, summer's come, summer's gone. We've now hit autumn, and autumn generally here in the Hunter Valley is a really nice time of year. We get those nice, warm, calm, sunny days, and we get a cooler night. Now, for growing, for our turf, sort of the end of the road for a lot of people. They can choose just to feed their lawn, tuck it in the bed, give it a mow here and there, and deal with it all in the springtime. Other people might choose to do what we did last year, which was our colour guard application with our Tiff Tuff there, to give it a pigmentation to keep it green all through the winter period. Or if you want something a little bit more dramatic, something a little bit more, I guess, hands-on, something that you can sort of keep doing all season long, you can do a winter rye oversow. Keep your mowing patterns up nice and high, get some really nice stripes, which is what we're going to do going forward here. Going to actually use that triplex, that 3250 Toro mower there. I'm going to get some really nice wide stripes on my front yard. I've wanted to do it now ever since that Tiff Tuff went in, and I feel that this year's the year. So today, come along with us, while my mate Emerson here and I transform this Sand Tarana lawn into a rye overseed just for winter. Our first step to a winter rye overseed, in fact, is not a scarify. The first step we need to do is stop our current lawn from growing. Now, by that, I'm not talking about killing it off. I'm not talking about spraying it with glyphosate or anything like that. We need to apply a PGR, which is what we call a plant growth regulator. And what that does is, during the growing season, it's absolute game changer in maintaining your lawn and just getting the best out of it. But for winter, what we're doing is we're actually sort of putting it on ice until springtime. So about a week ago, or a week before you do a rye oversow, you need to apply some of that. So my usual rate was about 10 mils per 100 square meters. For a long-term rate in this situation, I go in at 30 mils per 100 square meters, and that will ensure that this lawn does not grow again until springtime. It won't kill it, it just won't grow. So we've done that now. Next step will be our scarify. So we're going to set the scarify, whether you're using a Ryobi machine or we're going to use the Scott Bonnie here today. We're going to set it down to just into or just onto soil level. So we're looking to get as low as we can go, and we're going to do it in two directions to alleviate as much of this material as we can, because the aim is to remove this, take it down to essentially dirt. It's okay if we leave a little bit of material left behind, because going forward, I'll talk about it again, that will leave little bits of material there for the seed to sort of intertwine in and get held, especially on a sloping ground like this one. So what we'll do a double scarify, and then we're going to do a shave with a rotary lawnmower. So a lot of people ask quite frequently, why do you not do a shave with the rotary lawnmower first and then do a scarify? The simple answer to that is, by removing as much material as you can now with a scarifier, it makes the shaving process easier on man and machine. It is a lot quicker to do it that way. So do the heavy lifting with your scarifier first, come in with your scalping mower. Trust me, makes the life a lot easier. Okay, so double scarify is now complete, and as you can see, there's not a heap of material here, and one of the reasons that is, probably only about a month ago, I did actually give this a bit of a late season scarify just to thin it out a little tiny bit. But what we do have here, and I've talked about this before, is a lot of viable plant material. So if, for example, this might be your front yard and you've also got some cooch at the back, for example, that you don't want to do a rye oversowed with, but you have some areas that need some more material, yep. You can technically take this, put it in to the bare areas, press it down, cover it with sand, keep it well watered, and it will actually root down and take hold. So keep that in mind. We're going to pick this up today. We're going to get rid of it because I've got nowhere for it. But it's worth noting that when you're doing a ryegrass overseed, it's probably best suitable or best kept to cooch lawns and also kikuyu. Buffalo, it's not really a candidate for this, getting down to these intense scarifyings and low heights of mow this time of year with that sort of grass is basically a recipe for disaster. Plus, when it comes time to spray this out in the springtime, there's no real chemicals available that you can do that with. So ryegrass oversow is best suited to cooch primarily, and also cockue, so just keep that in mind. We've done our double scarify, we've picked it all up. Now, you probably noticed in that video there wasn't a lot of dust being thrown around, wasn't a lot of dry clippings getting thrown out of the back of the catcher. Now, what I've sort of started to adopt in recent renovations and now, I guess, oversows is the fact that the morning that I'm going to do the oversow, I've actually set my irrigation to do a cycle. So I've done 20 minutes on each zone. It does a couple of things. As I said, keeps the dust down so you're not breathing in the dust. Those of you who've done a few renos will realise how dusty it can get. Just sort of takes a bit of the dust away, helps things sort of collect nicer, and as you can see, it's done a really efficient job. From here on in now, we're going to get our little scalping mower out, and we're going to probably do it in 2 passes. We're probably going to go on a low setting, and then depending on how that looks, we may go one lower again. Just thought we'd pull up the process for a moment and let's just talk about heights of cut. Now, we've got that mower set really low. We can go one lower if we need to on that machine. However, in this situation, I think we're at the sweet spot. You can see here we've got some ground or soil or dirt, if you will. We've got a tiny bit of material here still. Now, what I like about that arrangement is because this is a sloping lawn, once we put the seed down, well, actually, sorry, let me rephrase that. We're going to put top dress down, then seed. And we're going to sort of rake it through. What happens is, this will help the seed sort of stay in place, if you will. Just gets caught up in the little stubble bits, and that's sort of what we're looking for. But I'm very comfortable this is low enough. So the little bush ranger there doing an amazing job, making light work of it. So let's get this bit done, we'll get it picked up, and we'll get onto some top dressing. Okay, so we're certainly looking a little less green now. Now this is an opportunity if you wanted to add to this by doing an aeration, so you could do a core aeration for example. Now is a golden opportunity. We've got rid of all that excess material. We could certainly do that, then put our top dress down. Today, I'm not going to do that step. I've spoke about it in other videos. I don't really have compaction issues here, and the grass does pretty fine without an aeration. Occasionally I've done it in the past, and maybe in the next 12, 18 months, I might do one in the spring, but for today, just going to now put some top dress down and then we'll work on to our seeding. When it comes to selecting a sand, now I've often spoke about before about how I use this sort of heavier sort of, this is probably more a 70-30 mix, which is basically translates to 70% of this is sand and the other 30% is more clay silt material. Now this comes pretty much straight out of a riverbed, and unfortunately on this occasion I have got a little bit of material that I didn't want, but when you're buying it directly from the quarry, sometimes you just got to roll with the punches. You guys are probably more likely to get more of a beach sand at your local supplier. It is hard to find really good sand for this sort of thing. I think you've sort of had that struggle in the past yourself, further down the valley. But anyway, what you've got to work with, you're looking for something very sandy, something that's easy to work with. So if it happens to be more beach-like sand, look, you just got to work with what you've got. As I said, we've got this a bit heavier material here today. The only reason we're not going to use the master top dress today is this is a little bit too wet for it and it will end up getting stuck in the machine. So we're going to go old school. We're going to go by hand with shovels and relive my apprenticeship all over again.
Didn't talk about that through the agreement?
No, there was no mention of that in the agreement. But that's what happens when the big jobs, mate. Yeah. All right, let's get it happening. So once we've got all our top dress applied, it's probably a good idea just to leave it in the sun to dry out. So the breeze is kicked up here now, sun's out shining. We've just actually come back from lunch, had some burgers and stuff like that. And as you can see now, it just rubs in really easily. When it comes to working with sand, it's best to work with it nice and dry. It just makes life so much easier. So we'll get this rubbed in and we'll take you through the next steps to get our ryegrass in for winter. So all our soil, or our top dress, is now spread out. Onto the stage of seeding now. Now there's two ways you can do this. Some people choose to put their seed down underneath the top dress and then put their sand on top. I don't always go that way. I have done it in the past. However, I feel there's potential there for the seed to be moved around when we're rubbing in after top dressing. Now, the next step that I like to do now, we've put the sand down, we've got a nice base for that seed to grow into. So its first little venture into the world will be into this top dress, and then it will push its way through the existing couch grass and its roots and establish itself in the lawn. So what we're going to do now, particularly important because we're on a bit of a slope here, we're going to rake some little lines or fallows into this with the rake. Literally all it's going to do is just give the seed somewhere to sit, and then we'll roll over the top of it with some fertilizer added as well. So we've finally reached the stage of putting out the seed. Now, there's a couple of ways you can do this. You can use the hand spreader here, which sort of flicks it out like a rotary spreader. I don't really recommend that as a way of applying ryegrass seed because it ends up in gardens, it ends up everywhere you don't want it. I prefer to use a drop spreader. So basically where you track is just falls out the bottom here and it falls into these little ruts just nicely. So we've got our ryegrass here. And there's heaps of different varieties of ryegrass. If you jump online, you'll find ryegrass for days. So perennial ryegrass, turf type perennial ryegrass is what you're looking for. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. Let's get it happening, and we'll go from there. Seed is now applied. The rate that I've chosen to go with is 5 kilos per 100, which is actually a sowing rate, not so much an over sowing rate. The way I sort of see it, because even though we are technically over sowing an existing grass, we've sort of removed that grass. So I just go with a full rate, which is the 5 kilos of seed per 100 square meters. It's time now to put out some fertilizer. Ryegrass in generally is quite a hungry grass. It does like quite a bit of nitrogen. So what we're going to do, we're going to use my new product here. We're going to use the Aussie Lawn Pro Series Ultramax. It's a granular product, and we're going to offset it with some Nature Max. Now, I was hoping to apply this today as well. It's probably too breezy to be spraying today, so I'll probably put this out tomorrow morning. So what we've got here, this is full of amino acids, it's full of fulvic acids, it has got some NPK in it as well, but it's really great for helping stimulate and develop large healthy root systems, which is paramount important when we're dealing with young seed. We want to get those roots established as quickly as possible. So check that one out online, www.theaussielawn.com.au. But today, obviously, we're going to just put this out now on channel. So that's our granular product, 2.5 kilos per 100 square meters, and that'll give this grass the best chance and the best start in life. So we've reached one of the final stages of our ryegrass oversow, and that is now we're just going to roll over this. Now you could use a water-filled roller. We're going to use a cylinder mower today, just because A, it's powered, it drives itself along, and B, it's just as heavy and it's there and it's good to go. That'll just help push the seed and the fertilizer down nice and firm into the soil, and then we can start our watering. Now, the key to watering is we want to keep this damp at all times. We don't want it soaking, flooding wet, because that can also introduce diseases like Pythium, which is a root disease, and we do not want that. But we just want to keep it wet at all times. The seed is not allowed to dry out at all to get the best germination. We're going to water here about 3 times a day for the first probably 2 weeks, 3 times a day, and then we're going to back it off to maybe once a day, and we'll wean it off. But we will talk about that in upcoming videos. Okay, that brings us pretty much to the end of our ryegrass oversow and how things are done. Ryegrass generally will take 3 to 5 days to germinate depending on the season. Obviously, the best time to sow this stuff is when temperatures are underneath 30 degrees Celsius. As I said, too windy today to be applying our Nature Max, but certainly I'll be on this tomorrow in the calm of the day and get things happening. Let's have a look now at one I've done earlier. Just like in every other TV show, here's one I prepared earlier. I've actually done the Tiff Tuff a week ago. So let's have a quick look at it now. I actually seeded this last Friday. So what are we now? Today's Saturday. So what we're looking at here is ryegrass that is 8 days old. And in places, it's well over probably 25, 30 millimeters, so 2.5 to 3 centimeters, or just over 1 inch or 1.25 inches to the American viewers. So this stuff will grow really quickly once it germinates. So we will be cutting this in the not too distant future. Anyway guys, look, we'll wrap the video up here. Hope you enjoyed a little look at a ryegrass oversow and giving you the steps you need to undertake a very successful ryegrass oversow. Have a fantastic weekend. Catch you next time on the Aussie Lawn.